and welcome into a For What It's Worth quick take episode number 4, and we're going to talk some NCAA basketball. It's your host, Calvin Silvers, and usually I do have Tyrone, Brian, and Eric with me, but for this quick take, I'm going to be by myself, and as I mentioned, we're talking some college basketball. We got the men's tournament and the championship to talk about. We got the women's championship to talk about. And then I want to talk some John Calipari and his move to Arkansas. At the time of this recording, he hasn't officially signed anything with Arkansas, but it's starting to point that way. So we're going to go ahead and talk about it. If you're new to this, we got 15 minutes on the timer. If you're listening, I'll try my best to announce how much time I have. So let's just get right to it. 15 minutes on the clock, and that starts now. So let's go ahead and talk about the men's national championship. UConn defeated Purdue 75-60. That means they went back-to-back. That's the first time since Florida did in 06-07. And first half, man, that was punch for punch. You had Edey, you had Donovan Clingan. That was what was being talked about all week. I guess I shouldn't say all week, but the past day after we figured out the Final Four, after we figured out the national championship, it was good. It was talked about. It was going to be the big man. It was going to be exciting. Were the refs going to be physical? Let them play physical. Were they going to, be ticky-tacky with the fouls? Those were the questions. And it delivered that first half. Man, what a great game that was. It looked like, UConn's in trouble. Yeah, we saw them in, what we thought they were in trouble in the Final Four. But, hold on now. Purdue's looking good. And then second half comes. And it was the same story that we've seen all tournament, especially the past couple games. That's when UConn just exploded. For whatever reason, they were a second half team this tournament, especially the last couple games. It was kept close first half. UConn fans, maybe biting their nails. Then second half, they're like, why were we even worried? Why were we ever worried? Purdue just seemed gassed in the second half. They also seemed kind of panicked. And I don't know if that was because they were gassed, but they felt the need to force it to Edey. Now, I know they were doing that all tournament. If you look at how many points he had game by game, he is the main source of that offense. So you necessarily don't want to totally go away from your game plan that you've had all tournament. But also, what were you trying to prove with him? We all know he's a National Player of the Year. We all know he's 7'4". We all know when you give the ball down to him, it's easy. We all know he gets the calls. We all know this. This isn't no secret. He's not just someone that got in the spotlight in the tournament. No, the spotlight's been on him for the past 2-3 years now. What were you trying to prove? The offseason goal for Purdue before the season was to get shooters around Zach Edey. That's what they had to do. That was the goal. That's what they were lacking in previous tournaments. They would get down. They wouldn't have the shooting to help them get back. And then you totally don't do any of that, especially in the biggest game. UConn made 6 threes. Now, they shot 22, but it's so hard to shoot in that scenario. You're playing in a NFL stadium. You're never going to play in that scenario again, I guess, unless if you're UConn and make it back to, straight or back-to-back Final Fours. Then I guess you will, but you get my point. It's hard to shoot with a backdrop like that. But Purdue only shot 7 and made 1. You're not going to win a game like that, especially when your big man can be matched, especially athletically, with another big man. Like, UConn had Donovan Clingan. He's not a scrub. He matches athletically with Edey. It was going to be a battle. You needed your guards to step up. And there's a reason you went and got some of these guards or just worked on shooting in the offseason and you abandoned it. So, UConn, congratulations. I didn't think that they would get this far, and the fact that I thought, just based on history and trends, especially of late, it wasn't a UConn's favor, and they just proved that right now they are a dominant blue blood in the game, and a team that should be feared. And if they can keep this up with recruiting and portal, man, they're going to be a scary team. So congrats to UConn. Let's jump to the women's. We have 10 minutes and 55 seconds And South Carolina defeated Iowa 87-75 to cap off a perfect season with the national championship. Congratulations to the South Carolina women. Biggest story was South Carolina's Tessa Johnson, the freshman guard, stepped up. It's so nice to have these 4 or 5 stars around, especially when they're freshmen. She stepped up, averaged 6 points regular season, goes off for 19 points and 3 triples. If you're Iowa, you had so many people to worry about. And so you figured, you let her slightly open out there. We have, we got to play a zone. We have a lot to worry about. And she just caught fire. Part of the game. So, every game plan's going to have their flaws. And Tessa Johnson just caught fire and exposed one of those flaws against Iowa. Also, Iowa just had no bench. No bench like the Gamecocks, the Gamecocks tallied 36 bench points in the contest. It's crazy. And as I mentioned, when you have a freshman that can come in like Tessa Johnson and do that, you're gonna just put up points like that. And so 4 or 5 star recruits, great depth. And so when Iowa played LSU, I wasn't so worried because if LSU got in foul trouble, they didn't have the depth to replace anyone really. Not in this case. So UConn. When UConn got in foul trouble, it's like, they don't have anyone to replace. I felt a little better. Here, South Carolina, one goes down, someone better comes in almost. So they're just a scary team. Iowa shot well that first quarter, and that's kind of leads into what my next point is. Clark didn't sell in this game. I know her production did slow down, but that was just in part to the Gamecocks' game plan in the second quarter beyond. They had to switch their defense because Caitlin Clark was going off of that first quarter. 13 straight points at one point. And then they finally just had someone follow her. Constant hand in the face. Like, I'm pretty sure that girl's hand never went down. It's hard to shoot like that. And in a game where your legacy's on the line, 18 million eyes plus are watching. It's hard. But she still dropped 30. Without her, that game would have been over quick. It was the Caitlin Clark show. So, at the end of the day, South Carolina was the better team. They're undefeated for a reason. Those recruits deserve it. The girls, the people they brought in, everyone deserves it. It's a greatly coached team. Lots of great talent, big names. Caitlin Clark was just a little shorthanded. But that's all right. South Carolina, 87-75. All right. 7 minutes and 56 seconds. Perfect. We got some John Calipari. Expected to sign a contract to become the next coach at Arkansas. Deal is expected to be worth 5 years and pay north of $8 million. Wow. Now here's the question. Will Kentucky and Calipari benefit from this move? Kentucky definitely. You were paying him so much money to what? Lose in the second round? Now you can pay someone less than that, and if they lose first, second round, oh well. We were just paying a guy, millions and millions to do that. So, doesn't hurt Kentucky. People will say, who are you going to replace him with? I don't know, someone that's cheaper. And as I just mentioned, if they lose first, second round, who cares? He's cheaper. You were doing that already. So, first off, though, when you're talking Kentucky basketball, it had to happen, is what I'm about to get into. John Calipari had to leave. He had to. First off, when you're talking Kentucky basketball, you're thinking Final Fours and championships. You haven't had that in 9 years. Either of that. A Final Four or a championship. 9 years. 9 years. You're coming on a decade of not doing that. And you're considered a blue blood. One of the blue bloods. You're Kentucky basketball. Second off, he's finished with a top 5 recruiting class every cycle. That 24/7 Sports started tracking team rankings. That was back in 2010. And he's landed in the number 1 recruiting class in 2011, 12, 13, 15, 2020, 23. So you have all these number 1 recruiting classes. You have all these big names like AD, Booker, John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, SGA, De'Aaron Fox, Cat, etc. 22 lottery selections since 2010. And you've only have 1 national championship to show for that? 1? That's not good. That's not good. especially when you're Kentucky. Remember, that might not be bad for even a team like Iowa, I'm not comparing Iowa to Kentucky. I'm just saying, Iowa had Garza, the Murrays, and, Fran didn't get them there. And it's like, okay, whatever. Hopefully we catch something like that again in the next few years. But at Kentucky, that doesn't slide. Not when you're Kentucky. So that leads into my fourth. My third point was with all the big names. I kind of didn't mention that. Now we go to my fourth point, which is the lack of tournament success. Haven't been out of the second round with 2 double-digit seeded losses in the, in recent tournament play. 1-3. Ugh, terrible. So he needed a change of scenery. He needed a change in how much pressure he can handle. Kentucky was just becoming too much pressure. And, Arkansas's giving him a good amount of NIL money. You can't really turn that. I mean, that's a big play in today's game. As a coach and wherever you go now, you have to look at how much the program is willing to give you in NIL. Now, I'm not saying Kentucky wasn't giving him anything, but I'm just saying Arkansas is not not going to give him anything. It's not like he's going into something that's totally trash. I mean, yeah, Arkansas didn't have the best year. They're not coming off, the greatest year record-wise, but they're going to give him the money to start building there. And it's probably going to be ran the way he wants. When you're bringing in a legendary coach, whatever you want to say about him, he is a legendary coach. When you're bringing in someone like that, you kind of just let him run the team how he wants. And so they're going to let him, they're giving him the money to build pieces. Obviously, he can recruit. And so hopefully he figures out the portal, and Arkansas's got themselves a nice little piece there. This is a great chance for Calipari, and he's going to be motivated to revive his career. So I think it's a good move for both parties. It needed to happen. Now, the main question is, who does Kentucky go after? It's an exciting job. Anyone would be lucky to have that. All right, we're going to end it right there. I did pretty good. I didn't even need all 15 minutes. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick take episode number 4. Just something quick for you guys that you guys can listen to, on your way to work, on your way home from work, while you're cooking dinner, just anything like that. And then, it's easy to discuss with your friends. And I just appreciate everyone that's been listening to not only this episode, but previous episodes. And if you have, go ahead and follow our YouTube for what it's worth. Go ahead and follow our TikTok at FWIW Sports Pod. Go ahead and follow the Instagram, same thing. And also we're on Spotify at For What It's Worth. So go ahead, follow all our socials. Go ahead, like, subscribe, comment, send the link, do whatever you can. I really appreciate it. As mentioned, that was Quick Take episode number 4. I'm your host, Calvin Silvers. And until next time, have a good one.